I've been eagerly anticipating Killers of the Flower Moon since the trailer's debut a few months ago. Having followed DiCaprio and De Niro since I was a child, and the fact that Martin Scorsese is my favorite director and filmmaker, it made it a no-brainer for me to watch. Yet I have to admit something that I'm kind of ashamed to say out loud. Despite my profound respect for Mr. Martin Scorsese, I've never seen any of his films in a theater. There are a mix of reasons to blame for this, and some of it is just age, right? Martin's been putting in work since the 1970s, and I just wasn't around to catch those movies. Another part of it is me being oblivious. There's many times I've been scrolling through whatever streaming platform, and I come across a film Martin made that I actually never even heard of. And that could be my fault, that could be marketing, I don't know what it is, but that's happened quite a few times.
So you dress for a meeting? And this is how you dress in Florida? In a suit? For a meeting? Anywhere. Florida, Timbuktu, I dress in a suit. For a meeting. And you're late.
What?
You're late.
I do remember reading about The Irishman before it came out, and I was so excited to watch that in theaters. I mean, you have Joe Pesci, Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, a mob flick. I'm in. What ended up happening with The Irishman is Netflix couldn't agree with major theater chains on the release strategy. Netflix has a streaming first mantra, and the theaters wanted the film for at least 90 days. Netflix and the theaters could not agree, so Irishman had a very short 26-day run, and I couldn't catch it. I actually ended up seeing it on Netflix. So that made me realize two things. This ongoing tension between streaming platforms and traditional theater is reshaping our experience with film. And it also made me realize the value of experiencing a film in a theater. And, I said, no matter what, I have to watch this film. Could be Martin's last film. I have to go watch it in a theater and experience it the way he intends for his audience to experience it.
The original conception of what a film is and where it's to be seen has now changed so radically that we may have to say, okay, let's say there's a certain kind of film that's made here. There might be, obviously, virtual reality films. There's holograms. There's all sorts of things that are going to be coming that we don't really know. It's something that should always be protected as much as possible, and I think will always be there, is a communal experience. And I think that's best in a theater. Now, homes are becoming theaters too, but it's a major change. And I think one has to keep an open mind, There's no doubt, seeing a film with an audience is really, really important. There is a problem, though, in that you have to make the film.
A few months before the film's release, I thought about reading Killers of the Flower Moon. The cinematic adaptation finds its roots in David Grant's novel, which delves into the tragic Osage Native American murders. I was not familiar with the story in any sense, yet the intrigue was there. The urge to read the book was amplified by my experience with Mario Puzo's The Godfather. Having read the book post-watching the film, I was amazed at how much more depth the book gave to its characters. But it makes sense. A 448-page novel allows for a more nuanced character development versus a film that's limited by its runtime. Two factors dissuaded me from reading Killers of the Flower Moon. Firstly, I learned of the creative liberties DiCaprio and Scorsese intended to take, shifting the narrative focus towards Ernest and Molly Burkhart. Secondly, I thought about the merit of experiencing this film without any preconceived notions. And to really stick to this approach, I avoided every trailer after the debut and as much interviews as I could.
The Osage were considered incompetent at that time and weren't allowed to be in charge of their own wealth. And by getting a caretaker like Ernest as her husband, they became an independent unit. They were able to take care of one another. So it was somewhat advantageous in some respects for her. For him, he obviously, had genuine feelings for her, but realized that there was tremendous wealth in the family.
Killers of the Flower Moon is a fantastic story about betrayal, the question of love, and greed. While DiCaprio's performance was commendable, it was Lily Gladstone's portrayal characterized by subdued intensity that was really captivating. I'm still digesting it, and I left the theaters with more questions and wanting to know more about the Osage community today. This is a story that I would have never known had Martin not brought it to film. I think it's one I'd have to watch multiple times to really dissect, but I wanted to talk about the ending. And warning, I am about to spoil the ending, so if you have not seen the movie, you can leave now. This is your final warning. Over the span of 3.5 hours, we witnessed the Osage people's deception, poisoning, and murder. Yet, as the narrative closes and our curiosity peaks about the fates of the characters left standing, we transition to a stage. Here we see voice actors and Foley artists recreate the aftermath, all while an engrossed live audience watches on, seemingly captivated by the performance. It's the golden era of radio broadcasting, a time where crime dramas were the pinnacles of entertainment. These live performances, filled with dynamic vocal renditions and in-the-moment sound effects, captivated audiences in the 1950s.
The Shadow, who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town. Years ago in the Orient, Cranston learned a strange and mysterious secret: the hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so they cannot see him. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the voice of the invisible shadow belongs.
Scorsese's choice to juxtapose this disturbing tale of the Osage people with this auditory spectacle provides a thought-provoking reflection on our own consumption of true crime. In today's age of on-demand entertainment, we find ourselves captivated by these true crime stories, the retelling of mysterious disappearances, murders, or schemes, all presented with a dramatic flair in films, TV shows, and podcasts. We all can't stop watching. Yet many of us don't realize that these are not just stories. They're chronicles of real pain, real loss, and real suffering. For many of us, once the credits roll or the podcast ends, we move on. But for the friends, families, and communities central to these stories, there is no next episode. Filmmakers, writers, and journalists often grapple with the ethical implications of their work. They might ask, am I presenting this story respectfully and authentically, or am I capitalizing on someone else's suffering? This internal conflict is especially pronounced when real-life events are commercialized. Who gets to tell the story is crucial. Often those directly affected by the tragedies are not the ones narrating or benefiting from the recreation of their story. This can lead to questions about authenticity, representation, and the potential for misinterpretation or misrepresentation. So we're at this stage at the end of the film, and in a meta moment, Scorsese, the man himself, appears on the radio show and lets us know of Molly Burkhart's fate. It's as if the radio drama mirrors the film, and we, the viewers, are the live audience. Martin is not only pointing the finger at us, he points the finger at himself. Scorsese's cameo is a nod to the paradox of storytelling, shedding light on real-life tragedies while being part of the very system that commodifies them. My name's Moses. I hope you liked this video, and remember, always stay a student of the game.